So this is everything that is in my Shop My Stash drawer, my everyday makeup drawer, if you will. And we're going to walk through these items and figure out what we are keeping in here and what we are going to put back into my rotation because I've gotten enough use out of it, and being kind of quiet because my whole family is asleep. So I'm trying to be super quiet. So let's start with primers. So I did bring several primers in to this rotation. I brought 4 primers. So I have the e.l.f. Skin Whoa Glow. This is their 30 SPF sunscreen makeup primer in one, and it's not bad. I don't love it necessarily. It does have a little bit of a tint to it. Can you all see that? But it's not horrible. I really didn't think I was going to 100% love this product, but I don't not love this product. It does have a tint to it, but as you rub it into the skin, it does, like, the tint does go away quite a bit, but the tint on this one is quite a bit lighter than my skin tone is. But I think it does a really good job of evening out the skin tone and creating just that really beautiful, like, glow to the skin. I have super veiny hands, you guys. I'm so sorry. I mean, I'm not sorry. Like, what am I going to do about it? Then we have this one. This is the Smashbox Photo Finish Primerizer. Do you remember when this was all the rage and everybody loved this stuff? And like, I'm not opposed to this being a beautiful primer. It really is a nice primer, but it's truly just a moisturizer. I don't think it did anything or does anything to help my makeup lay better on my skin, except for to give my skin a little bit more moisture. It sinks in rather nicely. It is a really great, like, moisturizing primer, but it doesn't, I don't think it does anything, honestly, to help my makeup stay in place. Then I have this one, which is the Dr. Brandt Luminizer Primer. This is the Pores No More bucket of Dr. Brandt's products, and this one also has a slight tint to it. This one, for the longest time, I was an advocate of this product, and it has this really weird, like, scent to it, kind of like a pencil shaving scent, not obscene and obtrusive, but definitely kind of odd. You know, the truth of the matter is I don't think it gives any glow to it, whereas, like, you see the glow from the Whoa Glow. This is just a really subtle, like, shine to the skin. And while I used to think that this was a great luminizing primer, I no longer think, like, it's a great luminizing product, but I do think it's a really, really nice primer. It's a little bit more thick in consistency than the Whoa Glow is, and obviously it does have a little bit of a dewiness to it, but not nearly the glow that the Whoa Glow has. But I love it. I'll keep it. The last primer that I brought in was this one, and this is the Tarte Timeless Smoothing Primer, and this was a new primer to me. I got it because, like, everybody talks about it. It's just Steph talks about it, Tati talks about it, and it's a lot of people's favorite, like, smoothing primer, and I do think that it is a beautiful smoothing, like, just airbrush finish kind of primer. But I will also say that I think it really mattifies whatever skin you're putting it onto. And I have really dry skin, so I don't necessarily need a mattified finish. But man, it is pretty smoothing. But I think you guys can also see how this once was super shiny from the Whoa Glow, and now it's just not. So those are the 4 primers. I did get enough use out of each one of those, so those will all go back into rotation. this was the only powder that I brought in, the Bare Minerals Mineral Veil powder. And this is a really great powder. I love this powder. It is like stark white, but it is a powder that looks really white when you first put it on. But if you go in with a big fluffy brush, it doesn't appear this white, but it is so brightening. It does so much for brightening your under eyes. I used this. This is the most worthless thing. I don't know why brands still do this, but back in the day I had this in a loose powder, and it was a little bit more pink than this, I swear, but a really beautiful powder then, really beautiful powder now. I think it better in the pressed powder version, but I just really like pressed powders, so this will stay. I had 2 concealers that I brought in, and 2 under eye brighteners. So I brought these 2 in to kind of compete with each other, if I remember correctly, because this was a favorite of mine back in the day, and this I got, you know, just randomly. It was in a section of our store that doesn't really have, like, it was just sitting in a store that doesn't have Bobbi Brown in it, or didn't at the time. And I wasn't sure which one I liked better. And now, after many months of use, because the last time I updated this was August, I can tell you that this is the one I prefer for under eye, like concealing, so like dark spot concealing. This is the one I prefer for brightening and for moisture. This one isn't not moisture rich, but it is just a smidge bit more thick. Thick isn't really the right term for it though either. Like I don't really know how to explain it, but it has just a little bit more oomph to it, just a little bit more girth and girthiness to it, but it is my skin color, as you can see. This one is really dewy. I think that you can see that right off the bat. It is a little bit more shiny. It has a lot more dew. It does look very moisturizing, and it is not my skin tone, so just tapping it out. It blends super, super easily. So does the Bobbi Brown one, but this is just so brightening, but it's also dewy. One area of my face that I don't necessarily think needs to be super dewy is my under eyes, if I'm honest with you. So I do prefer this one over this one most of the time, but I do still think that this one has a place in my collection, so I will be holding on to both of them, surprisingly, because I really didn't think this was going to end up that way. The other 2 concealers that I brought in were these. Oops. And truly the thought process behind these was that I was going to find a concealer that made me not care about the fact that I don't have that pink under eye setting powder that keeps going around virally. I just don't use powders very much, so I know that I don't need them, but I keep wanting one because it's all over the internet. This one actually, I think, serves that purpose. This one doesn't, but this one also does a really good job of brightening. This is the Benefit Boing Bright On Concealer, and this one is in the shade Lychee, and I really do love this for under eye brightening. It is so pretty and just really easy to manipulate. You just tap it out, it blends in super nicely, and you've got this really beautiful under eye brightening effect, and it doesn't have much coverage. If you're utilizing this for coverage, you're utilizing it for the wrong reasons. There's not a whole lot of coverage to this, even though it's called a concealer. This is the LA Girl Pro Conceal HD High Def, concealer. I don't know what shade this is, so I will put it on the screen for you guys. But this is just pink, and I really do think that for me, it fit the bill when it came to wanting a pink under eye brightener powder, because this did all the things that powder could have ever done only in a not powder form. And for a girl that has super dry skin, we don't need any extra powder on our face for reals. So, or at least I don't. Some of us might like it. I don't need it. But here's the lychee right here. And this is the LA Girl. You can see just how much more brightening this is than this, but they both do a really good job of brightening. So both will stay. This wasn't part of my original Shop My Stash, but it's in here because of that Adept Cosmetics palette. So I'll just probably keep it in here because I, utilize it enough that I think it's smart just to keep it in the drawer. And I know that you guys are probably going to be super bummed because here's the true tea. I didn't use any one of these. I was so tuned in and focused on finishing up the foundations in my project pan that I didn't use any of these foundations. Not one time. So I'm bummed out about it myself, but I might pull in another foundation. But this one is brand new. I've never even used it. The Maracuja Juicy Glow or Juicy Glow. I love this one. I love this one. I love this one. And this one, this Hourglass one, I wanted to see if I still loved. It's a stick foundation, but all of these will be staying in. And I don't know that I'll be pulling a new one because I didn't use any of these. I do think that the foundations that I have in rotation right now in my project pan will be done by the end of this month. So I might pull in the new Dior foundation that I purchased a couple months ago because it's been a couple months and I haven't used it. But otherwise these are staying in. I really thought about letting this go. But this has been with me for so long. I think I would regret it, so I'm just not going to let something go to let something go. But this is the Tarte Park Avenue Princess Chisel palette. I got this in a boxy charm, and the reason why I thought about letting it go is because I didn't use it very much. But when I did use it, I absolutely loved it. I think I love that it's got like more of a contour shade to it, and then the rest are really bronzers, and I love that they're like really 3 different shades of bronzer. These two I didn't use a whole lot, and I don't think I ever would use them a whole lot. Like, it did have the KVD Shade and Light palette that was, a chisel palette as well, and I think at the end of the day, those white powders at the top, I didn't use as they were. I mixed them into other things to get them gone in that palette. I kind of go back and forth with this because I'm not sure that it's ever going to see the use that it should see. Like, I'm not worthy of it. It's not like the worst bronzers that I have in my collection, but it's certainly not the best either. So there's that. I think I'm going to hold on to it. I mean, if nothing else, this packaging is just stunning. We're going to start back here, but first I'm going to talk about this product because it's the only product that I know was in this that isn't in this drawer anymore. And if I pulled something in that you don't see in me going through it, it's because, like, I put it back into its home, forgetting that it was supposed to be in this drawer. But I don't do that very often. This, however, is empty, but it's not empty because it's an empty. This is the crappiest contraption I have ever in my life. Ever. Like, you start to turn it, and instead of it turning, this brush piece just comes off. Like, and no amount of me trying to get it to work made it work. So at the end of the day, I pushed it up as much as I could get it up, and then I just dug the product out of here and I put it into 2 new components. So this is going to live in my empties bin until it's actually gone. This is what I put the remainder of the product into. So this is it's an old Becca under eye brightener container. I use it for a lot of my liquids and creams as a respite container when I'm mad at the container that it originally belonged in. And I really thought it was going to hold the rest of the product, but it didn't. So part of it is in here, and the other part is in here. And this is another Becca container, but this is their anti-fatigue, like, under eye primer container, which is weird. I did empty this a long time ago, but I did put it in here, and I started utilizing it in this component, and then I rolled this component into my project pan to try and empty at least this component of that product. So I will keep the Makeup by Mario stick, the sculpting stick, in my collection, but it will be in two different components, and this one is going into my project pan, or is in my project pan, and then this one will go back into my collection in the sculpting sticks section. I love the sculpting stick. I love this product so much. I hate that component. I have two cream bronzers in here. I have the NARS Laguna 03 and the ABH cream bronzer in caramel, or caramel. And you guys, this is a beautiful bronzer, and I really did think it was too orange for me, because it definitely looks really orange. But blended out, that's like a really heavy, like, swatch. It's really complementary to my skin tone anyways. It does look very orange here in the swatch, but it's not that orange when I put it onto my skin in a more, or a less saturated way. So this is another product that I really thought was going to be gotten rid of at the end of the day, or at the end of the shop my stash period, but I am going to be holding on to it. And this one, I mean, you guys, the hype is real on this. This is just such a beautiful bronzer, and this one looks way too deep, but also, again, when you get it on and you start blending it out, it is just a really beautiful bronzer. This I didn't use at all, so it's gonna stay in. This is the Drunk Elephant De-Bronzy Drop, and this would actually be a perfect partner to my current Project Pan foundation, because my current Project Pan foundation is like literally the color of paper. But this I am going to put back into my collection. This is the Fenty Sunstalker Bronzer in Island Ting. I will say that this gets hard pan. I mean, you guys can see it right here, and I just scraped all the hard pan off of it. This gets hard pan like no other bronzer I have ever come across in my entire time working with makeup. I don't understand what it is that I'm doing wrong because I'm not putting anything wet in here. I'm not using my fingers in it. I mean, you guys can see I'm not even swatching it because I don't want to exacerbate the hard pan issues that it has. If I had one gripe about this product, it would be that. But otherwise, it's a beautiful bronzer, not patchy, goes on beautifully. The component is nice and shows every single fingerprint. But other than that, really beautiful bronzer. Really love having it in my collection. Then I have this. You know, this has got to go. Number one, it's a mess. It is truly a mess. And I can't with that. It gets all over the place. It gets all over me. Next thing I know, I'm just one big, like, rose gold blob. This is the e.l.f. Halo Glow Beauty Wand Blush in Candlelit. It's pretty. It really is. But once you start blending it out, it just is a too deep for me highlight. It's not really anything other than that. And I mean, in addition to the packaging woes that this thing has, Like, I just have no desire to ever use it because it's such a damn mess, and every time I do use it, it gets everywhere. And then also, it's just got this really, like, awful, like, cast to it when I turn my face just so. Head on, it's beautiful. But then you turn, and it looks like a giant rash, like a big hive on my face. So, this is going. Now this is a highlight. This is the Rare Beauty highlighter in Exhilarate. And spoiler, I just bought another one of these highlights in the Sephora sale. That is insane. That is insane. I mean, this is the See Me From the Moon dream that we once upon a time had. I maybe am not a See Me From the Moon kind of person right now, but I might be again one day. You can still make it just this really beautiful highlight to the face that looks more like a wet, sparkly wetness than it does a See Me From the Moon. And it sits on the skin so beautifully. So I did buy another one. I loved this highlight. Next is blushes. This one surprised the heck out of me. I almost want to go buy more, but a comment said that these all looked the same, that they bought several of them. So I think I'm just going to stick with this one. But this is the Tarte Maneater Blush and Glow, and this is kind of a hybrid blush slash highlighter, but this is what it looks like on the skin in a swatch. I love that it has a doe foot, but the swatch makes it look like crazy pigmented. But when you start blending this out, you guys, it's just super pretty. And you can shear it out, or you can make it like crazy sauce. Whatever you want to do with it. It's perfectly glowy while also being not like highlighty, but just a beautiful glowy blush. I think it is so pretty, and I was surprised by it. This is actually a product that I got in gratis that I honestly thought I was going to get rid of because I didn't see me using it ever, and I'm super glad I did not. These will probably always be in my collection. These are the Clinique Cheek Pop blushes. One is in Fig Pop, and the lighter one is in Heather Pop, and they're just pretty. They've been used and abused throughout the years as I've had them in my collection, and I will continue to use them. These are some of my favorite blush formulas, actually. And I think this one is probably the most used blush in my collection, even though it doesn't look like it. Besides the one that is in my project pan that has the giant pan in it that I've had for years and years and years. But you guys can't even really see the flowers on them anymore. This one you can a little bit, but this one, the flower is pretty much gone. You can still see the indent in the center of the flower and like along the edges, but it's pretty much gone. I am a member of the Fantastic Ladies Facebook group, and I just saw one of the group members in there posted a picture of one of their Clinique Pop blushes that they had just panned, and they have only been using it consistently for a couple of months. I'm wondering if the same would be true for these guys, because if so, I'm popping one of these into my project pan for next year. Probably this guy, because it is older than the Heather Pop for sure, but it's one of my favorite like fall time blushes. So these will stay in my collection. I didn't get a lot of use out of this, if I'm honest. I think I might keep it in for one more rotation just because it is a beautiful like fall tone blush. And look at how deep that is. That is a really a lot of product on my finger swatching this, but look at how beautiful that is. This would be the perfect like sunburnt blush look. I did put a whole lot more on my finger than I would normally going in, but it's just really pretty. I do love to use it with a sponge more than I like to utilize my finger for application of this product. It's super pretty and a really great like fall to winter color for the cheeks. So I am going to keep this in rotation because I just didn't use it. I just didn't use it at all. Along those same lines, I also did not use this one by Becca. This is the Becca Mineral Blush in Songbird. It's also a really pretty, like, just coral colored blush. It really is just a really beautiful blush. So really glowy, really kind of peachy, really beautiful. I am going to keep this in rotation as well. This Pat McGrath blush is probably my favorite blush in my collection. This is the Pat McGrath Flirtatious Skin Fetish Divine Blush, and it is in the shade Flirtatious, and it looks like there's probably nothing on my hand, but I think that that is really what I love most about it, is it's really unassuming, really unobtrusive. It's just a perfect natural My Skin But Butter blush that just kind of makes everything just a little bit more like glowy and healthy looking without being like straight up in your face, hello, I'm a clown. I know that you can't see it on my skin, but I promise you it's a beautiful blush if you don't have it. This one surprised me. This is the Essence Pure Nude Baked Blush, and this one is in the shade Bold Heart, and it is a really kind of like hot corally color. Really, really pretty. The blush is just stunning. It's a beautiful baked formula. There's hardly any fallout to it. It is just really, really pretty, really, really glowy. Makes the skin look really, really healthy. I do think that there is quite a bit of powder to this. Even though it's a baked blush, it still looks kind of powdery on my skin, but it's not a powdery that doesn't go away with like a setting spray or something like that. So I just make sure to go over my face with like a wet or damp sponge after applying that product, and then it just all kind of melts in and it looks really, really beautiful. And then we have the Ofra blush in Bellini, which is another blush that I actually did not get any use out of. I found myself leaning into this blush if I was going to go like a more like natural tone or like a My Skin But Better tone. This pinky mauve is what I went for more than the peachy. So I am going to hold the peachy in to my Shop My Stash rotation. Last in this drawer we have like single eye products and highlighters. So this highlight palette I brought in, this is by Mented, and this is their I think their only highlight palette, and it's just called Highlighter Palette. And the only shade that works for me in this highlighting palette is this one here. The rest of them are just really, really deep, but I love this one so dang much. So I will hold on to it because I can't see myself getting rid of this. I mean, it's just a really subtle, really, really beautiful, like white gold, even though it looks kind of peachy in this. It's really beautiful. And this one's way too dark. This one's way too dark. This one is not too dark except for the cast. When I turn my head, the cast is very, like, it looks like I've been bruised. So this one is the only one I can really use out of that whole bunch, but it's beautiful. So for that one shade, I'm going to hold on to this highlighter palette because I don't think that they make that one shade in a single. This one was the other like palette form of highlighter, if you will. This is the Touch and Soul Pretty Filter Glowdient Makeup Palette. And it looks like this. You guys, this is so pretty. This is so pretty. But as you can see, I only use these two down here because I feel like this one might be a stitch too dark. And these ones are definitely too dark for, you know, highlight application. For eye makeup application, these would be perfectly fine. But I never grab for something like this for my eyes. So, with that said, I did grab these enough. They're just so pretty. So I will be holding on to this. Again, these remind me of like See Me From the Moon, like Rare Beauty kind of highlights, but really pretty. I will hold on to this as well. These two I used surprisingly quite a bit when I first put them in here. I didn't think I was going to get as much use out of them as I did, but I really had a good time with them. These are the Sydney Grace. These are cream eyeshadows. And I have one in the shade Boardwalk and one in the shade Stolen Kiss. So Boardwalk is a little bit more peachy, while Stolen Kiss is a little bit more like champagne-y. They're both really, really gorgeous, really, really pretty. And I don't know if you guys have been around long enough or remember, but I shot my stash when I first started doing shot my stashes, and I pulled in some of my previous Sydney Grace cream eyeshadows, and they creased on me so dang bad, but they were like 4 years old at that point, and that was the excuse that I gave them. But when I tried these, I was really afraid that I was going to be wrong about the fact that they were 4 years old, and that's why they didn't perform in the way they should have. But these were so beautiful. No creasing, and honestly, frankly, no budging. As soon as I got them onto my eye and blended out, like I didn't have to worry about them at all. I knew that they were going to be there at the end of the day. I would say a good, easy 10-hour wear time out of these suckers. And even then I took it off, it wasn't like coming off. So really, really beautiful, and surprisingly enough, those aren't as similar as they look just from looking at the shade on the component. So I will be keeping both of them. This is going to stay in. This is the Natasha Denona Chromium Liquid Eyeshadows, and this one is in Infra Nude. Really beautiful, but I didn't wear this at all, so I will keep that in rotation. I also didn't wear this at all. This is the second rotation that it's in, but this is the ColourPop eyeshadow that I made with ColourPop when I went to Field Leadership Conference this last time, and I named it Cotton Candy, and it is truly beautiful. I mean, look at how pretty that is just as a topper. I just need to use it. I just need to pull it out and use it as a topper. That's what I need to do. I had some pretty boring eyeshadows going on in my life over the last several weeks. I don't know why I haven't used this. If you guys remember, when I rolled this in, this was a very new eye primer, and look at that. Like, I'm just like barreling on through it. I think I will probably put this into my project pan next year. This is a MAC paint pot. This is in the shade Painterly. I love this paint pot. I'm going to keep it, obviously. For now, it's rolling out of my Shop My Stash. The Moon Dust Shadow, also didn't use. I mean, I guess that makes me happy. I have this topper in here that I didn't use. I also didn't use my own invented topper, so I guess that makes me happier knowing that. These I did use mostly as inner corner. They're really beautiful and easy to use for inner corner. I do have the shade Heavy Petal is the more pinky one, and then I also have Champagne Problems, which is the more like neutral one. And I mean, they're just really beautiful. Like I said, I use them a lot for inner corner highlight. I use them a couple times for, well, this one, the Champagne Problems, I use for brow bone as well. They're just really pretty, really easy to use. I will keep them. This is the last of the stuff that I had in my Shop My Stash rotation. This is the lip product. This is being decluttered. I thought this was decluttered a long, long time ago. I pulled it into my Shop My Stash. This is the worst lip liner on the planet. To add to that, I think I'm allergic to it. We've had this discussion. This is the Too Faced Lip Injection Extreme Lip Plumping Lip Liner in Puffy Nude, and I wish this color existed not in a lip injection formula, because this hurts, but this color is stunning. But I can't wear it, so I'm going to get rid of it. This one I also wore quite a few times, actually. I think I sharpened it twice, most recently the other day. And I mean, I love this lip liner. I love the tone of this lip liner. It's kind of like a peachy pinky, like almost rosewood, Oh, it's so pretty. This is the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude Lip Liner in the shade Natasha that came out in her My Dream collection. I love this guy. Neither one of these got used, so these will stay. Again, this is the shade Bumble, and this more pinky one is the shade Starship. These will see some use, I promise. I used all 3 of these. These are so comfortable and beautiful, and even though they look like crazy for shades, they just, like, you put them on your lips and you wipe them off, and they're just the most beautiful shade of these shades that you could possibly get. And if I want them deeper, darker like this, or more pigmented and looking more like what is on the component, I can layer them, and they do build on themselves really, really well. These are not uncomfortable, and they do not leave my lips feeling like I just took an alcohol swab and washed my lips with it over and over again for days. So I will be holding on to these. These will stay. Because I liked those so much, I didn't use this, which is the Stila Calligraphy Lip Stain in the shade Stacy. So this one will stay. This is a little more like tangerine in color. And I feel like it's got the weirdest like application component. But I feel like this would be an easy applicator. Like you just draw it on like a pen. This I have been using, but I am going to keep it in rotation. It will probably go into my Shop My Stash, or not my Shop My Stash, my project pan next year to finish. You know, I'm not 100% in love with the ice formula. I don't think it plumps, which I think it's supposed to do. And it's just really a mentholy, minty taste to it. So that's what makes it feel like ice. It is the weirdest sensation to breathe in and have that whole like had a menthol lozenge that you were just sucking on and knowing full well that you didn't. But this is really nice. It's a really pretty, you know, clear gloss. It's nothing special though, in my humble opinion, but I will be keeping it. I still didn't use any of these. I know. I mean, this is still sealed. I know I need to use it. But the good news is that I am going to pull in a few lip products because there is a room in here to pull some stuff in. So that's where we're at for the products that I got some use out of over the last several months. Now let's go pull some new products. We are going to start by picking our concealers, our correctors, our powders. For concealers, I have a couple that I already know that I am going to put in because they're both relatively new and I want to try them out. So I did purchase this quite a couple months ago. I think actually I purchased it for my birthday haul, and I haven't even tried it. This is the Natasha Denona High Glam Concealer, and I did pick up the shade R2. I was color matched for this shade, so I'm interested to see. Listen, I've heard all the hype on this concealer. I'm really excited about this concealer. This does look really, really light, but I do think, I mean, especially in comparison to this one, which looks a little bit more yellow also. But I'm really excited to try it, get some use out of it, and like I said, I was color matched. This one I purchased myself for my First Impressions drugstore haul that I did just not that long ago. Get ready with me trying out all this drugstore makeup, and I really actually quite liked this as a concealer. So I am going to put these two concealers in as my concealers. For powders, I am going to pull in this one, which is the Pat McGrath Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection Blurring Under Eye Powder. This was also something that I brought in during my birthday haul, so I am going to bring this in, but I'm also going to bring in this, which is the number 7 Light Lift and Illuminate Triple Action Pressed Powder. Also a product that I purchased for my recent first impression drugstore makeup, whatever video that was. These are the two powders that I'm going to bring in, and I think that's it for powders. Then we have like correctors and those things in this drawer. And I know I want to bring in a corrector. I don't know a lot. I mean, I love the pink one of these that I have, and I don't really think I need another color right now. That's not really like my journey at the moment. Maybe I will bring in this. This I also got a little bit back. This is the Ole Henriksen Banana Bright Vitamin CC stick. It's an under eye color corrector in the shade Apricot. So maybe I'll bring this in as a color corrector and get just some more use out of it. I think I have only used it like a handful of times, so it seems smart to bring this in. And you know, the more I think about it, the more I really, really loved the pink like Pro Conceal. So I do think that I'm going to bring that in also as a color corrector. So we have our powder, our concealer, and our color correctors. And I think that's it from this drawer. I lied. I'm also going to bring in this because this is super old in my collection, and I think I want to see if it still works. You know, if I still like it. This used to be a favorite of mine. So, I mean, this was a backup that I purchased when they when they discontinued this product. So, which was forever ago. So that should tell you just how old this is. But this is in the shade Peach. So I'm going to bring this in also as a corrector. Here we have my bronzers and my blushes, and I have a ton of newness in here. So I'm going to pull out all the new stuff because that's definitely going into my Shop My Stash drawers. We know that we're going to pull in all of these things because these are all new. And this is also new. But these ones I haven't used yet. So I have the Dior Rosy Glow blush in the shade Berry. It's a really pretty berry toned blush for the holiday season. So we're going to try that out. We have the Hula Beach Vacay, and this is going to give me a blush and a bronzer. It has Shelly and Hula. But you know what, you guys? I have both of these separately as singles, so I think I'm not going to pull this in. I actually think I'm going to put this in my giveaway drawers. Then I have a Pat McGrath bronzer. This is the bronzer in Nude Honey, and I am really excited about this bronzer. I haven't tried a Pat McGrath bronzer yet, and I really love her blushes, and this bronzer just seems really neutral, and I love that about it. So we're going to try that. We have the Dior Forever Natural Bronze. This one is in the shade 06, which is Amber Bronze. I have a ton of Dior products, but haven't tried the bronzer yet. So this one feels like it will be more of the warm tone, like bronzer. But it also has kind of a neutral feel to it. So we are going to try that guy out. But then I have these two blushes. These are the Good Beauty Feeling Cheeky blushes. And I have the Stars Aligned and Flirty Talk. And then the last two products. This one is the Beauty Counter Cheeky Clean Cream Blush. And it is in the shade Shy. And it caught my eye in one of our stores. And I fell in love with like the neutrality, but also the peachiness of it. And it is cream, so I'm going to bring that in. And then I'm also going to bring in this one, which is another Bare Minerals bronzer. And this one is in the shade Kiss of Mauve. So I have Kiss of Copper, Kiss of Pink, and now this is Kiss of Mauve. And I am really super excited to try that out. But that will give me, I mean, when you consider the duos, 2, 4, 6, 7 blushes, 2 bronzers. So The only other one that I want to bring in is this guy here, and this is the Makeup Revolution cream. I might bring this in too. Both of these were purchased for that drugstore makeup get ready with me, and I only used them in that video. I enjoyed them quite a bit, but I do think that I want to bring them in also, just as another cream option for the blush and the cream option for the bronzer, so that I can get a better feel for them. This drawer is all highlighters, and I have some newness in here as well, so I'm definitely going to bring those in. I don't wear highlighter a whole heck of a lot, if I'm honest, but I am going to bring in, it looks like 5 items that I have in newness here. Yeah, I think that's it for newness. So I have a Sydney Grace loose highlighter in the shade Pink Lightning. This is actually an item that I thought I was going to declutter, but I haven't tried a loose highlighter from Sydney Grace, but I love their regular highlighters. This is a Ritual Defy highlighter, and this one is in the shade Solaris. And again, it's one of those items that like I saw on a shelf in a store, and I couldn't let it live there all by itself. I also have the Give Beauty Check My Glow blush in the shade Platinum Cowgirl. I also have the Bare Minerals highlighting blush. Now this is supposedly a blush. We're gonna see how we roll with that. This looks more like a pink toned highlight in my humble opinion. But that is it there, and it is in the shade Opal Glow. And then last but not least is this guy here, which I used in that video as a primer, and this could be used as a primer. I would use this more as a primer. So we're going to bring this in actually as a primer, and I'll go pull a couple other primers that we'll bring in. Okay, so in addition to that e.l.f. Halo Glow primer, I am also going to bring in the Hourglass Veil primer. I think I'm going to bring this in as a precursor to putting it into my project pan next year, because you guys can see it's almost gone. I also am going to bring in this. This is the Huda Beauty Glowish, and this is their like Blur Jam. So it's like a pore filling or perfecting primer. So those I'm going to use for my face. And then for my eyes, I am going to bring in this. This is the Hindash Color Fluid in Canvas. I love this as an eye primer. And then I also picked up this during my birthday month and haven't used it yet. This is the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip Eye Primer. I've heard really good things about this, and I think that this will like bridge a gap for shimmers that I don't necessarily want to use a glitter glue with. So we will bring those in as eye primers. All right, I think that'll be it from this drawer. I don't want to bring in a face palette this time. They get lost in my drawer, to be honest. All right, the last drawer is individual eye products. Okay, so these are my mini palettes and my individual eye products. I don't bring palettes into my Shop My Stash because I just want to utilize the products that I have that I'm not always going to be utilizing, such as palettes. So we're going to focus in on the stuff in my singles section, which is this section over here, and of course these eye pencils right here. So what I do think I want to bring in from a single shadow perspective are the KVD Dazzle Sticks. I'm going to bring in these as cream eyeshadows, and honestly, because I have two toppers in there that I haven't even used, and they've been sitting in this rotations for months now, I'm not going to bring in anything else because I think these will give me what I need as far as like cream shadows. And I think I'm going to bring in these two. So we're going to bring in 2 liquid eyeshadows and 4 cream eyeshadows, and that'll get us through the holiday season. When I think of holidays, these are everything and everything that comes to mind. So this is what we're doing for our single eyeshadows. I don't need anything else from this drawer. I was thinking about eyeshadow sticks, but if I'm going to bring in an eyeshadow stick, it's going to be the NYX white one in milk. Let me go grab it. Yeah, I'll bring in this eyeshadow stick because this works really well as a brow bone, inner corner, base. It works really well in a multifunctional way. So this is what I'm going to bring in for a shadow stick. Okay, here we have lips. And as we know, we've been left with really quite a few lip products that are still in rotation. I am only going to pull a couple of things in because I just don't foresee me utilizing a lot of, look, I'm struggling even getting use out of the ones that are in there. So there's that. I am going to pull in each one of these. These are the lip products that came with the Angelica Odenzai collab that I just bought, the Halloween collab. And I'm going to bring in the lifter gloss that was also part of that drugstore video that I did. As far as lipsticks go, I really don't think I need another lipstick. I have 3 lipsticks in there. I just need to use those 3 lipsticks, and I don't have a new one. We all know how I feel about liquid lipsticks, so, I mean, if I had a red, I do have a red. Let's try this red. I mean, it's the holiday season, sure, why not? Let's try a red. We have a red. This is by Lunar Beauty. This is so old, so I guess it would be good to pull it in to see if it's even any good anymore. And then as far as lip liners go, I'm going to bring in a red because I'm going to need it for the liquid lipstick, I think. And I had a new one that I bought during that drugstore haul that... Yes, this one here that I'm also going to bring in. This is a Milani lip liner, and this is in the shade All Natural. Additionally, before my battery dies and I lose everything, I did go ahead and just pull out the 2 foundations that I'm going to bring in to utilize in this Shop My Stash. This is the ColourPop Pretty Fresh foundation. This is in the shade Light 40N. This I did pick up myself in that, for that drugstore Get Ready With Me video. And this one is the Dior Forever Natural Nude. And it is in the shade Too Cool Rosy, which is weird to me. Do you guys think I'm a cool rosy? I've always thought of myself as more neutral. Neutral golden even, not cool rosy. And this was color matched the same day as that Natasha Denona concealer, which also is in cool rosy. I mean, I think they look very similar, so I'm a bit confused. This one in person does look a little bit more like on the yellow side, not the rosy side, so I don't know. I don't know. We're going to see. We're going to pull these in, but this is in addition to all the other foundations that already currently sit in this bin. I'm going to shift you over and we're going to put all this stuff in the drawer and then we'll get you out of here. Okay, so am I missing anything? So I don't put palettes, I don't put eyeliners, and I don't put like mascaras or anything in here. But I do have, so my blush, bronzer, and highlight are here. I have primers, foundations, color correctors, and concealers. I have powders, and I have single-use eye products, and then, of course, my lip products. Yeah, I think that's it. So you'll have to let me know what you guys think of the choices that I've made for this round. I would certainly be interested to hear your thoughts or opinions on any of the things that I literally took out of the boxes today and put into my Shop My Stash. I'm really excited about my Shop My Stash items this month and really excited to just kind of rotate through and get some use out of some of the newness in my collection. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope that you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please don't forget to give it a big like. Subscribe if you enjoyed it. I would love to have you along for this crazy ride of mine. And for all of you out there, just I hope that you're having an awesome day, month, week, year, whatever it has been for you. I just thank you all so much for coming. I hope that you are all safe and healthy and getting along as best you can in this crazy, crazy world, and that you are all loving each other, but loving each other from afar. And until next time, bye friends.